Welcome back, Shalligators. Today, I want to talk about Paris Hilton's recent interview on the Meghan Markle podcast. On the what? The Meghan Markle podcast. The Meghan Markle podcast. I know. I want this to be a Markle-free zone, but it's not. I want the whole world to be a Markle-free zone. Unfortunately, this is not our reality. But listen, Paris Hilton is one of those celebrities that we've talked about, not in the way that I think people maybe clicking into this video who've never watched my stuff would anticipate, like, oh, she's so dumb. No, I think Paris Hilton has served us some of our deepest lessons. How to play dumb when you're actually smart. Is there an advantage to doing that? So definitely go back and check out some of the videos we've done about Paris. And also she married my friend Carter, who's fantastic. So I'm really happy for her and really happy for both of them. And I think it's a really great, I don't want to say a second act because that makes her sound old, but I just think it's such a great, I also don't want to say fairy tale ending because life goes on even after you get married, but I just love that that's who she finally married. Someone who's really smart, really down to earth, really capable, and most importantly, someone who really wants her to shine in her arena and doesn't feel competitive. And that's totally Carter. So I think that's really great. But today we're going to talk about Paris's appearance on the Meghan Markle podcast, where she was talking about her persona. Her persona as the blonde Barbie doll bimbo. And we are going to discuss how to break out of personas you might be living under. And I use that phrase specifically, living under, because the things we create to insulate ourselves from criticism, from anxiety, doubt, fear, can end up owning us, right? We can be crushed underneath the weight of our own creation, free us from a prison of our own design. So we're going to talk about how to do that because I think it's something that especially women really have a difficult time with. But I'm also going to tell you how to use personas to your advantage and when sometimes they're incredibly useful and why you kind of don't want to dismantle them, because sometimes being yourself is not the smartest option. It's not ultimately the safest and most emotionally healthy thing that you can do. So we're going to get into that. But before we do, don't forget to join me for Evil Week. It is going to be 7 days, 7 videos, 7 deadly sins. And we're going to talk a lot about this concept, but from an evil slant. As I was filming it, I realized the unintentional sort of theme of this year's Evil Week is faking nice. Faking innocent, faking keeping sweet, but moving in a snake-like manner. Because look, we can all be very overt with our evil. It doesn't always go so well. We really need to be a little bit more subtle and a little bit more strategic. So that's kind of the common thread we're working through with how to cheat and get away with it, how to seize power at work, dethroning a queen bee, pretending you're innocent when you're actually super ruthless and sinister. I think it's one of the best Evil Weeks I've ever done. So go ahead and grab tickets down there. Also, join me in the Shallon. It's our daily text service. You get long form blogs, storytime videos from me, bonus episodes, all these kinds of things. And yeah, you get to chat with me on Telegram all day long. I love it. I have nothing better to do. Go ahead and click that down below and save for your first 3 months. Also, I'm leaving for Italy tomorrow. Do you guys want to travel with me? We have some trips. We're going to CANCUN in February. It's going to be a wonderful midwinter getaway. Come and chill out and thaw out with me on the beach. It's going to be so fun. We're also going to Italy. Again, next April, we're going to Lake Como, the Amalfi Coast, and Milan. It's going to be so fun, so aesthetic. It's going to be fantastic. So go ahead and sign up for those right down below. I would love to see you guys and travel with you. And follow along on my Italy trip because we're going on 2 back-to-back Shalligator trips around Italy for the next month. And yeah, follow along on Instagram at ShallonXO and you can see what a Shalligator trip entails. It's so much sisterhood. Truly, if there's a theme, it's bonding and sisterhood, and it's just ducky. I'm obsessed with it. I love it. I never want to travel. I don't want to travel with my real life friends. I only want to travel with you guys because you guys become my best friends. When I went to New York a little while ago, I only saw Shalligators from our Costa Rica trip. I didn't see my actual New York best friends. I'm like, I just want to be with these girls. It was so therapeutic and so great. Okay, less great. Fucking Meghan Markle. By the way, I know my hair looks bad. I'm getting it done today. So, you don't want to do your hair before you get your hair done. It's just this isn't, as I always say, this isn't the Shallon you deserve. It's the Shallon you get. Meghan. So So she has a podcast. It's called Archetypes, which I think is an extremely stupid name for a podcast. It's not jazzy. It's sort of confusing. Hey Siri, what's the definition of the word archetype?
Archetype means a very typical example of a certain person or thing.
So I guess she interviews people who are an archetype of something. Like she interviewed Mariah Carey, who's like the archetype of a diva. And of course on this one, Meghan had to hijack it and say, I was reduced to a bimbo while on Deal or No Deal. I don't know if you know that show or remember it. It's like a game show and all these pretty girls are holding briefcases and they open it and show people what they won. I was reduced to a bimbo. I was taken advantage of. She said she felt really grateful to have a job that could pay her bills, but there was little substance to the role. Yeah, girl, that's true. There's little substance to opening a briefcase and going, was that? This is why I can't stand her. She makes purposeful decisions and then acts victimized by them. I married a prince and wait a minute, I have to do royal duty thing. I have to learn about his family. I cannot stand victims. I want a winner, not a whiner. If you choose a behavior, if you choose a role, a job, are you not choosing the consequence? Right? The fact that she has anyone in her corner still blows my fucking mind. It just blows my mind that people are like, I love her. Why? Like, genuinely explain this to me. Because from my point of view, all this woman does is complain. All this woman does is complain. I hear almost nothing from her in terms of gratitude. I was shocked. She said, I felt really grateful to have a job that could pay her bills. Shocked she said that. She doesn't feel grateful to be married into like a monarchy. She doesn't feel grateful to have a platform. It's all victim, 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 victim. And it makes my skin crawl to be around people like that. Because that is the last thing on planet Earth I want to be, ever. You guys know my father died, he committed suicide. Look, even the way I said that, I said it low, I said it quiet, because I don't like to talk about it, because I don't ever want people to be like, oh, that feeling makes me want to turn myself inside out. That pity, that foisting of victimhood on me potentially inhabiting a victim narrative. I hate it. I fucking hate it. And I have more comprehension for like, I don't know, like demented terrorists than I do for people who want to be victims. But I guess terrorists act like victims too. So I have no comprehension for people who enjoy inhabiting that space. Anyways, I ended up quitting the show. I was so much more than what was being objectified on stage. You're a model. You're a model. You're doing your job. You're a model. You're a spokesmodel. You open something. I was so much more than that. Okay, most people are more than their role at work. You might be more than working the fry machine. Does that mean you quit? And again, the fact that she's like, I quit because I was more than that. Lucky you that you were able to do that. Lucky you. But I don't even know what to fucking say about her anymore. I just can't even stand her. She turns my brain into like a spinning rainbow wheel. I just lock up and it's like, I can't stand her. I was grateful for the job, but not how it made me feel, which was not smart. By the way, I was surrounded by smart women, but that wasn't the focus. No shit. No shit. If someone works at an airport, do they quit? They're like, my athleticism really isn't being taken into account here. No, because that's not your job. And that is great for her that she had the privilege of quitting this job because it's like, I don't feel like I was being utilized as the intellectual that I am. Some people don't have that, and they actually don't sit around victimizing themselves. They carry on with life. It's not just a constant pity fest. Markle said the women would line up to receive lashes, hair extensions, padding for their bras, and even spray tan vouchers because production had a cookie cutter idea of how they should look. It's a job. It's a job. If you work at a place where you have to wear a uniform, you're not being victimized. That's part of the job. Meghan has a real issue with people telling her what she should wear, even though that's literally the central focus of being an actor or someone in show business. They're going to tell you how you need to look. I mean, who would watch a show where everyone shows up dressed however the fuck they want? What are you even talking about? You're playing a part. You're playing a part. Is it the deepest part on planet Earth? No, but you know what? You're a bad actress. So I don't know if you expected Meryl Streep to come like walking down your driveway one day, handing you the keys to the next Oscar. Like, I don't, it's just the self-aggrandizement and the fact that she's making herself a victim out of this. She can't look back at this and be like, you know what? It was fun. Like, yeah, it was a stepping stone. Like I like dressed up and we all kind of looked alike. Girl. It's everything is like, I understand your pain, Paris Hilton, even though you were shipped off in the middle of the night to basically a child prison camp and raped. Do you know what happened to me? A spray tan voucher. I know, nobody understands. These are literally the comparisons Meghan is making by even introducing this into the same fucking conversation. Can we have her interview a Holocaust survivor? I would love that. Let's get the show a foundation to bring somebody out so Meghan Markle could interview them, because she's already compared herself to Nelson Mandela. I feel like there aren't enough Holocaust survivors left that are alive that she can really, really make the comparisons she wants to. Because it's in there. And she just, all she fucking talked about was herself in this. Great. Finally, she gives the microphone over to someone we actually want to hear from, Paris Hilton. I want to hear from Paris Hilton. Because listen, Paris to me falls into the same category as Kim Kardashian. It's like they're famous for nothing. Well, they're billionaires. So you're famous. You're not doing anything. You don't have a talent and you're not a billionaire. So like we talk about this all the time. Like I think it's fascinating the trajectory these women have. And listen, we could get bitter that they've had this like lucky stroke and, you know, whatever, they have so much, or we could get better. I move closer to people I hate, not Meghan Markle, because I have nothing to learn from her. I move, like, if I feel jealous, like I'm not jealous of Meghan Markle. I'm not jealous of Selena Gomez. I don't like them. And there is a big difference. And again, I hate this concept that when women don't like each other, it's like, she must be jealous. No, I don't like you. Like, I don't maybe like a particular kind of sandwich. I'm not jealous of the sandwich. I don't like it. And it's this way that women turn even insults into compliments. Not always. Sometimes people don't mesh. Sometimes I look at someone, I'm like, I want nothing to do with you. You bring me down energetically, emotionally, intelligently, and no thanks. So I look at Paris though, and I'm like, if I feel that ping of like, ugh, why does she get to have all this? I want to know more. I want to chase that feeling. I don't want to run away from it. I want to learn from it. Get better, not bitter. So she talked about her ditzy blonde persona, how that happened, and kind of the effects it had on her. So she said it was basically a way to escape her traumatic teenage years at this Utah boarding school, which was super like violent and abusive. And there's a documentary on it and it's bad. And you know, now that I'm older and my friends have kids, God knows I don't have any, like I've learned to see things from both sides. Not that you want to send your kid to like rape university, but if your child is out of control, like what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. Now, on one hand, gaze upon your monster, Dr. Frankenstein. Did her family create this monster? Sometimes. But I look at some of my friends' kids and I'm like, they are just naughty children. And the other kids in the family aren't. It's this one. So like, what do you do? Like, I don't know that I could blame the Hilton family for trying something extreme to deal with extreme behaviors. Again, like I would hope they didn't know what was going on. And God knows they probably could have not drug her out of bed in the middle of the night. I don't know. The whole thing, I shouldn't even weigh in on it because I have no idea. But it just seems difficult from both sides is what I'm saying. Like parenting is difficult. Being a teenager is difficult. Poor Paris, though, seemed to get the real shit end of this stick because it was like incredibly traumatic. And so she built this sort of dissociative persona of like, yeah, I'm a Barbie as a way of insulating herself. Now, in an extreme situation, this manifests as multiple personality disorder. Not like she has that, but if you take something like that all the way to the end, that's what it is. It's people who create different selves, like a Horcrux in Harry Potter. They break themselves into different pieces and store it all over the place. The interesting thing about multiple personality is if you actually have it, you don't know. So when people are like, oh, I have multiple personality. No, you don't. Because people who truly have that, they completely disassociate. And they're suddenly like Dennis, the trucker. Well, shit. You know, they don't even know that this is happening. That's the point. If they knew, they're like, I'm going to step into this other persona. It wouldn't work. Because it has to be like walled off from the sexual trauma and the physical abuse or whatever it was. So if you hear people say that that's what they have, no, they're liars. Because that's, unless they've been like diagnosed and they're aware of it. But if they just say this, no, they're just an asshole, honestly. So Paris said, I just was promising myself and saying, I'm going to work so hard and become so successful, no one will ever be able to control me again. I think that's so interesting and so illuminating, because I was thinking the other day, like, how did Paris go from this out of control wild child teenager to like a billionaire? And she is, right? She's pretty fucking closer than I am. And I guess that's what it comes down to, control. It's like, no one will ever do this to me again. And I think that shows real strength of character. I think that's really cool. And in there, she said, I started kind of building this fantasy life and this kind of Barbie doll character. I guess just to not think about the pain and just to think about, oh, unicorns and butterflies and Barbie dolls and pink and sparkle. Ugh. And she said that when she got her role, when she was on The Simple Life with Nicole Richie, when she was just 22, she was so young, that persona went into full force. The producers just said, we want Nicole to be the troublemaker, and Paris, we want you to be the rich, dumb blonde. And that's when I started like really playing into that character. During that time, it was encouraged to be dumb and bubbly. And I look at it now and I'm like, I think it's so much cooler to be smart and intelligent. But back then, that's what they wanted. And she said that the character was a mask to protect herself from the media attention. I almost got stuck and lost in the character. And at some point, it was like the lines got blurred and it was like I forgot who I was. And it makes me sad because I used to be such a free spirit and I was not so closed off. And I just feel like with so many things that have happened to me over the years, I just closed off in ways in my mind. And I wish it didn't happen. Going through trauma in life really affects you. Let's unpack this. I think Paris nailed her own psychology. You know, it's a persona to protect her from the public image and things. And listen, I've had therapists say to me, like, you need to have a difference between Shallon XO and Shallon Lester. And I'm like, I don't know how to do that. And my comeback is always like, if I wanted to have a completely different version of myself when I'm at work, I would have stayed in corporate America. Life would be easier. 401k and health insurance, and I clock out and that's it. You know, a boss to hate. Life would be easier. I'm like, I do this job so I can be myself. But there's a downside to that. And you know, when I travel with you guys, I always ask you, I'm like, am I like what you thought? And they're like, you're exactly the same. You are exactly the same in real life as you are on videos. You're like, people say like, I'm more low key. Like, I'm not like, like I'm not the star of the show all the time. I like to hang back and let you guys be, you know, star of the show when we're on trips and we're hanging out and stuff like that. But personality wise, yeah, I'm exactly the same. And again, like, why do this job if I'm going to be faking it? Like, what's the point? I love being able to be myself, and especially after a lifetime of keep sweet, and just play the corporate game and do this. But listen, remember in the beginning of this video, I said, I'm going to tell you when a persona is useful, and then we're going to get back to Paris, but since we're on the topic. A persona is that insulation. And even therapists are like, you need to have that. Because if not, you are just exposed all the time, and everything that hits you. It hits the real you. And that is very detrimental. It's detrimental to your energy. I mean, obviously, right? And so I think we should borrow a little bit from the boys. The patriarchy, they know what they're fucking doing around there. I mean, they get to run the world. And I think it's important sometimes to pause and be like, okay, how do men deal with this? What do men do? Men have no problem with the concept that they're a corporate tiger at work and they're like Dennis in the boardroom. And then they come home and they're a husband and they're a dad. My husband was very much like that. I would hear him on the phone to work and I was like, who is this guy? He's like an assassin, like mean, snide, like, and then with me, like, baby, I love you. He was just like a little squish ball. But he needed that balance. And that's why men marry. And that's why they have wives, is like, so that they can be this like, this tiger man at work and out in society. And then they get the balance of being squishy and soft at home, right? You see this sexually. Guys who are like the big alpha, who do they have? They have fucking dominatrices. Dominatrices. I say I'm like that. I'm like the big bad alpha bitch. What do I want from a man? Submit. I submit. I like it. It's balance. So is that a smarter way to operate? Yeah. Because guys, they go to work and they zip themselves into the corporate raider suit. They zip themselves into manager, and then they come home and they unzip. Even how they dress. Like, we have the concept of fashion, like day to night, like work to party. Guys don't do. Have you ever read an article like that about men's fashion? I never have. Men have suits that they wear to work. They have their corporate suits, and then they have what they wear at leisure time. Golf shirts and Tommy Bahama and fucking cargo pants and joggers and Jordans. They're not trying to take one into the other. There is church and state, right? There is a complete separation in all categories of their lives. And again, men get to run the world. So maybe we could learn something there. Get better and not bitter. Maybe it's helpful for us to have this persona. But like Paris said, the lines will get blurred. And, you know, I remember reading an article written by Elon Musk's first wife, Justine. And I studied this divorce in college before anyone like knew who or cared who Elon was. I think he had just sold PayPal. Like, that's how we knew Elon. Is like, all right, who the hell is this guy? We studied it because my major was a lot of pre-law. It was like rhetorical argumentation, arguing, like trial law. And so a lot of people became lawyers in my class. And so we studied cases, and we studied this divorce because it was one of the most insane and contentious divorces like ever. He had, I think, 5 sons with her, and he bodied her so bad from a legal point of view. She ended up on food stamps. I don't know if she's still, I assume she is not now, but like, it was bad. And I read an article she wrote after the divorce, and she's like, the lines between Elon at work and who Elon was, my partner that I married, completely blurred. And he came home one time and he was like barking at me, and she's like, I'm not your employee. And he said to me, I know, because if you were, I would have fired you. I would have fired you as my wife. Sometimes church and state come together, don't they? And that's when the trouble starts. That's when the difficulty is. Why does this happen? Well, look at the difference. Let's use Elon. He goes to work. He's the boss. He has the power to fire people. Boom, bye, gone. And he does this. He does this all the time. My ex-boyfriend used to work for SpaceX, and yeah, he would walk down the hall and be like, you, gone. Like, he was just ruthless. And so that kind of power corrupts absolutely. You come home and suddenly, wait a minute, I have to weigh in with someone? I have to share my life? I have to share the decisions from, are we buying this kind of milk to how are we raising our kid? What the fuck? You operate at a different level. You kind of get it. You get why that becomes a very slippery slope. So how do we remedy that? How do we avoid, either shifting so much into this like power persona that we cannot compromise? High five, Shall. That's my issue. I'm the tyrant of like Shallonville. I'm the big bad. Like, I don't compromise. I don't weigh in with anyone to make business decisions about my house, my body, how I raise my dog, nothing. And so my boyfriend comes along and he's like, what should we watch on TV? I'm like, who the fuck asked you? Like, that's my initial thing. It's like, what are you doing here? What do you mean? What do we want for dinner? I have to ask you? This is crazy. But we have to pull back, and I think we have to ask ourselves, what are we ultimately after in this scenario? Okay? Peace or victory? Yeah, I could be like, well, it's my house and it's my fucking TV and Netflix, so I think we're going to watch what I want. How romantic, how loving and sexy. Oh, it's a bird. Hi. It's like, tilt their little head all over. Or is it peace? I actually, more than not wanting to watch that Jeffrey Dahmer documentary, which I don't, I want to create a loving atmosphere with my partner. I want to actually have a nice, fun night. So you know what? Whatever we order, whatever we watch, it doesn't matter. It's not about that. It's about him. If I really need to watch something else, Great British Bake Off, I can do that on my own time. I can have I can have the tyrant. I can be my own little fiefdom, my own little dictatorship some other time. And I'm going to allot for that. I'm going to allot for my alone time. I'm going to allot for my tyrant time. I can put in my calendar, tyrant time, tyrant mail. And then I'm going to step out of that. And maybe it is something I do that's physical. Maybe I have my tyrant clothes, my tyrant pajamas that I wear when I want to watch my shows and eat my snacks. And then I have boyfriend time, boyfriend outfits, boyfriend lighting, boyfriend candles, maybe doing some of those rituals. Seriously, like the tail can wag the dog. Maybe doing some of that will help us disconnect from that persona and step into a different one. And listen, you might be saying, my issue is not that I have way too much power. That's not my issue. My issue is I don't have really any power in my life. And I have hidden behind this persona. And maybe it's not a persona you even foisted upon yourself. Maybe the persona is you're the good daughter. You're going to be the one to stay home and live here forever and take care of grandma. You're like, okay, maybe you have 10 siblings and that's your role, is you're the caretaker. Maybe it's you're the slut. You were the bad girl and that's how everyone thinks of you. Maybe you're the girl who does Evil Week. The labels we attach end up owning us sometimes. How do we break free from this? Well, I think it's very important that we constantly diversify. Basically, what a label is a monopoly on data, right? I'm the slut. I'm the bad girl. I'm the slut. Okay, you're basing that on a big cluster of data, or maybe it's actually a small cluster of data. Maybe one night you blew the whole lacrosse team. Who cares? But you have conflated this pebble into a mountain, right? You have decided that this piece of data outshines all the other data. So what you need to do, add in more data. You dilute it. You simply dilute it. You go to church every Sunday for 6 months. You make that promise to yourself, okay? You work on beautifying your household instead of going out and getting drunk and potentially blowing a different lacrosse team. You are constantly infusing data. You are writing these things down. What did I do this week? How many lacrosse players did I blow? Oh, is it 0? Okay. How many home cooked meals did I make? 4. That's great. How many times I walk my dog? How many times I talk to my grandmother? And still no lacrosse blowing. That's interesting. The antidote to anxiety, to fear, to these false personas is facts. It's data. If you can introduce so much contrary data, you can start to flip the script. That's what Paris Hilton did. She was distancing herself from this persona. And listen, hers was deep. It was entrenched, and more than anything, it was public. We're going to touch on that in a second. But she made many different businesses. She, instead of just being like, I'm like a model and I have a dog in pink, she became a DJ. Not like that's deep as the river runs. I mean, she's not like gonna win a Nobel Prize, but it's different. It's not something based on her looks, based on her voice, based on even what she's saying. It's something based on music that she's putting out there, right? And so that's a distancing from that persona and this new product. So she was really working hard to not be that person. She was giving interviews about not like, oh my God, my sex tape and my fashion and my jewelry and my lip gloss. She was giving interviews about business, about diversifying her portfolio, about her history. She was opening up, deepening herself to, again, counteract that shallow persona. Was it easy for her? I'm sure it wasn't. It's always very, very scary to stand in contrast to what people think of you, because it's the most vulnerable emotional thing in the entire world, right? But I think what we need to do, the first step, is identify who in your life either very much buys into this persona of you, and also who depends on that persona. Either logistically, like, hey, my family depends on me being the caretaker because they need people to watch the kids. Or from like an energetic standpoint, it's like, my friends need me to be the slut so that they look like good girls when we go out at night, and they actually get the quality guys, and I'm left with the fuck boys because I'm the slut. Ha 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 ha. You can all make jokes at Shallon's expense. She blew a whole lacrosse team. I didn't. But I might have. I mean, I didn't, but like, if they're hot, you know, I'm not saying it would be out of what I would potentially want to. It's a lot of work. I wouldn't blow a whole lacrosse team. Maybe like a lacrosse play. Let's get off this topic. Doesn't matter. Anyway, so let's look at the first one. Who buys into this? Who believes the hype? Are these people, are they believing the hype? Because listen, like, you are a caretaker and this is what you do. And is it coming from a standpoint of like, well, they're buying what you're selling, so we can't really blame them or like come down on them. It's like, people take things at face value. We can't really expect people to constantly mine us for depths and different sides of our personality that we ourselves aren't willing to amplify. Unless, of course, you've watched Evil Week and you're into the art of seduction, in which case that's exactly what we do, because it's the art of manipulation. Most people aren't smart enough to manipulate others. We are. That's a whole different story. So look at the people who buy into this. Are they on your team? Do you have people in your life who genuinely think you're a slut? Why are they in your life? Why are they in your life? Is it shame-based? You're like, well, they love me even though I'm a slut. Okay, maybe you could find people who just love you, period. There's no in spite of, because they don't see you like that, because you don't present yourself like that. You don't say, hey, I know this is only our first time having coffee. I just really wanted you to know I blew the USC lacrosse team one time. Are you the one reintroducing this constantly as a persona? Are you willing to start over? Are you willing to annex these people out of your life? Excommunicate these people out of your life and reinfuse it with people who don't know shit about you, who are willing to see different sides of you, who not just are willing, they want to see different sides of you. They like that. Oh my gosh, he's not just the corporator. He's like a really cool, fun family guy. That's great. I love that. I want to embrace that side of him. Are you willing to give up people who only see you one way? Because let's go back to the other thing. Do they have a vested interest in you being part of this persona? The caretaker, because listen, it's easier to just be like, well, I know Naya's going to watch the kids tonight. Hi, Naya. I know Naya's going to watch the kids tonight because that's what she always does. Because that's easier for them than finding a babysitter, paying for it, canceling their plans. They just assume that you don't, and they want you to not have plans because that's better for them, right? Like the slut thing. It's like, oh, no, we want Shallon to act slutty because then we're going to seem like good girls, even though, you know, Marcy gets drunk and pees the bed. So does Ashley. She vomits all over the place. But like, we're just going to make Shallon the foil. She's going to be the fall guy here and we're going to look like good girls. Okay. Shallon's going to be the evil one. She's going to do evil week. And I get to keep sweet and everyone's going to like me. All right. If people have too much of a vested interest in this persona, red flag, red flag. Because listen, boundaries, what do we say? The people who hate your boundaries benefit from you having none at all. The people, and listen, boundaries might seem like a weird word to have here. The people who hate your multi-dimensionality, let's put that in. People who hate the fact that you can be slutty, you can blow a whole team, but you are also the girlfriend type, you're the lover, you're domestic, but you can also go out. People who hate the different sides of you benefit from you only having one side. Benefit from, it's like seeing is believing, what you see is what you get. She is shallow, she is simple. It is an easy categorization system for me. I don't really have the time, the interest, or the bandwidth, or the intelligence to look at this girl and be like, she is bubbly and blonde and cute and fun, but she's also a fucking badass in the boardroom. She is smart and she's crafted a $1 billion empire. She is funny and sexy and sexual and sensual, but she's also the good girl you take home to mama. Like, she can play up all these things. Some people, honestly, a lot of people, they don't want to do that. Either because they're lazy or they don't value you. They themselves are not multidimensional, and so it's very triggering when they meet someone who is. Wait a minute. You can be all these things. On some level, that says to them, well, I'm not doing great with this one thing. I'm doing shitty with this one persona. And she's got like 5 and she's crushing it. And I can't even manage this one. So fuck her, fuck Paris, fuck Shallon, fuck Naya, fuck all y'all. They're going to try to tear you down because they're coming from a place of powerlessness. And multi-dimensionality, especially for a woman, is truly the most powerful and frightening thing of all. Imagine if you didn't know what we were going to do next. Imagine if this woman could surprise you, and if you couldn't make her keep sweet and put her in a box and on a shelf and live, laugh, love. Imagine what she could do if there was pretty much anything she could do. And listen, we can say that's the patriarchy. We can say that's men. No, it isn't. It's not, I mean, it is, but it's not only them. It's our families. It's our best friends. It's our youth pastor. It's our bosses. It's our coworkers. It's us. The call is coming from inside the house. So we need to pause and be like, who is benefiting from this persona? Am I? Because sometimes, like I said, sometimes the answer is yes. Like, no, I am benefiting from having a church and state, a separation. I need to do this, but I also need to do rituals, outfit changes, journaling, different names, different, like an emotional, a metaphorical closing of a door at the end of the day when I cast off the hedge fund husk of who I am, this corporate chick, and I go back to being sweet girl, right? Normal girl, fun girl, whatever that girl is, right? The separation. I need to constantly keep in mind, this is a person I have crafted and I'm like stepping into her whoop, every morning and I take her off at the end of the day. You like a little body roll. I take her off at the end of the day. That's how we retain our power. That's how personas don't run away with themselves and become a slippery slope. That's how we don't get buried underneath it. And more importantly, that's how we keep the people in our lives alert and aware. Hey, you're not going to put me in just one category. And if you think that you are, you know what category you're in? Fucking bye. You're in the trash category. You're out. And I understand that sometimes the biggest categorization, it comes from our own family. It comes from our best friends who've known us forever. One of my best friends who has known me forever, every time I'll post something on Instagram that's like not liberal, maybe it's conservative, maybe it's moderate, she'll text me. She's like, I know that this isn't the real you. And finally, I'm like, what you need to actually know is that I am allowed to grow and change. Why would I put something on my Instagram, my personal brand, that is, number one, not everyone's going to agree with because that's politics, and it's not authentic to me? Why would I do that? I'm not getting paid for it. Like Candace Owens isn't like sliding me a 20 under the table. Like, why would I do that? What you don't want to see is it is me, and this disrupts your idea of who I am because you need me to be a certain way to justify you, make you feel better, have your own categorization system, your risk machine isn't disrupted. That's a you problem. That's a you problem. I don't need to explain myself. I don't need to. No, this is me. It is though. It is. Why don't you believe me? Go fuck yourself if you don't. I mean, I love you with respect. Go fuck yourself. This is a you problem. This is disrupting your machine. My machine's running fine. This is throwing a wrench in your machine. We kind of got to fix our own machines. Okay? I'm not your emotional mechanic. Sorry about it. But it's hurtful when someone who knows me so well is like, this isn't the real you. First of all, I decide. It was hurtful when I put out my course, Get Him Back, my ex-boyfriend course, and people were like, this isn't your brand. I am the fucking brand. You're not the brand. I got to tell you, with respect, you're not the brand. I am the brand. I decide what it is. I decide what makes sense. I decide who is me. Right? And if you have a problem with it, that's because your machine has been discalibrated by me speaking from the heart and maybe adapting, growing, changing, not living up to your persona expectations. Again, that's a you problem. That's not a me problem. How you feel about me is none of my business. So sorry. But it's difficult when it is people who we rely on to be our mirrors, our historians and all that. And they're like, this isn't the real you. This is why we must take time for ourselves, diversify ourselves, have that perfect 9-year-old day where we connect to our inner child and what really makes me happy, what makes me light up. What made me light up when I was 15 might not be what does it at 25. Am I not allowed to grow? I used to breastfeed once upon a time. Am I allowed to move on from that, or should I go back? What's your opinion out there? When we can get really good at being alone with ourselves in our own emotional real estate, we know exactly what should inhabit that real estate. I know myself very well. I'm a very formed person, partly because I think I'm an only child and I spend a lot of time alone. I enjoy it. And when I'm alone, I can let my own thoughts just be heard and I can just breathe. And therefore it's like, no, I don't like that fashion. That's great if you want to wear it. It's not for me. I don't like that kind of music. I do want to go here. I do want to do this. Like, I have more knowledge about myself. So when people are like, that's not the real you. When I was younger, I'd be like, oh God, really? But tell me, who is the real me? Who is the real me? And listen, a little that goes a long way. Like, we do need our friends to tell us if we're getting out of line. Like, hey, this guy you're dating who's an alcoholic and he yells at you, this isn't the you I would expect to date. You know, this isn't who I would expect Shallon Lester to date. Like, oh, fuck, okay. We need that. So we can't throw the baby out with the bathwater, and we can't be completely closed to feedback from people who do know us and do love us. But we have to know where those lines are. Like, you can tell me, hey, this guy maybe not good for you. But if you're telling me, hey, your political opinions, that's not you. No, they are. They are. Because I have sat with this, I know it, I've thought about it, I put it out on purpose. I'm gonna maybe listen to you, but with respect, I'm gonna say, no, I know myself in this category. Do I always know myself in dating? No, I'll admit that. You know, so I'm more willing to hear feedback there. But because I have decided to know myself in those other categories. So that's what I want you guys to do. The way to get out of a persona, it's not just like, cut your hair, get bangs. You know, it's deeper and it takes more time, but it's good time. It's good time and it's fun time. It's like, I want to know what's in here. I'm not afraid of it. There's so many different layers to me. I want to look at them. I want to look at all of them. I'm not afraid of them. I'm going to get curious and not furious about who I am, how this persona has served me, whether it is still serving me, and if it's a little bit of both, okay, how can I wind back the not serving? And how can I dial up the good parts of this persona? How can I look at people who have this idea of me, and instead of cutting them completely out of my life, being like, hey, I'm willing to watch the kids, but I need at least 3 days notice, and if I have plans, you need to respect that. Again, boundaries. If they hate them, red flag. Multi-dimensionality. If they hate it, red flag. How can you wind expectations and stand up for yourself a little more to people who you do want to keep in your life? Your parents, your sister, your sorority, whatever. People you need to keep in your life, your boss, like your boyfriend. How can you do that? Because extremities are easy. You're out of my life. Everyone's in my life. It's the middle path that's the tough one. But we are tougher than these challenges. I mean, if we can't do it, nobody can. But lucky for us, we got this. We got this. We can do it. You can do it. I can do it. Meghan Markle can. Paris Hilton can. Love it. All right. I'll see you later, Shalligators.